I know, we're running behind already. I hate this.
You can scream and shout with all your might.
Wah, 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 wah.
Dig in your heels and hold on tight.
Hold on tight, kiddies. It's gonna hurt.
Either you are wrong or I am right.
And don't forget the ever-present third possibility. You are wrong, and I am right. That's the way it usually turns out, doesn't it, Randy? It's incredible. Alright. Welcome to another edition of Stating the Obvious. It's been a while since I've had a chance to record any of these because I've been busy. We are going to attempt to slam through my rebuttals of utilitarianism without getting too sidetracked. And maybe get some political stuff today, too. This is an entire day which is being devoted to recording Stating the Obvious. Stating the Obvious, of course, brought to you by the Cynical Libertarian Society. The email address, if you want to respond to anything here, is sto@204eastsouth.com. I am Skippy, and in the control room, the lovely, the adorable, the charming Randy, who is hopefully going to be keeping me on track. I'm drinking. You'll hear me slurping my coffee every once in a while. I just realized I don't have my water bottle in the recording studio. This is bad. Okay. Well, no, don't worry about it. We'll plug on. I will get it during the break. And hopefully I can survive this long without water. We are discussing... Have I forgotten anything? Oh, I have forgotten. Thank you. It is the 5th of April. The time is it 8:21? Okay, yeah, it's 8:21. 8:18, actually. My watch is fast, but daylight savings, I'm still confused. Yeah. God, I hate daylight savings. This is the stupidest thing on the planet. What idiot came up with this concept? All it does is fuck me up every year. And we're going to go backwards. We're going to go forward. I don't mind going backwards too much. Backwards is okay, but the forward part I have no use for. Alright, coffee. Opera is playing on the stereo. I have my notes. I think we're good to go. Utilitarianism, my favorite theory. Now we are up to what did I title this? Where's my notes? I know. You know what I also need? I also need to find my updated version of these notes. Do you know where they ended up at? Yeah, I know. We should have done all this before we started recording. It's too late now. Utilitarianism in Action, section number 2, example number 2, slavery. In the class, Spear asked the question, according to utilitarianism, what is wrong with slavery? Well, the answer here, of course, is nothing. Nothing is wrong with slavery, as long as slavery increases the overall amount of happiness. Now, actually, since I wrote this, I've been thinking about this, because I wrote number 2, I wrote slavery is an action. Utilitarianism, tells us that morality lies in the outcome, not in the motivation, not in the action. Therefore, slavery creates a greater amount of happiness, and there's nothing morally wrong with it. Now, I'll still stand by all of that, except for... So I'm thinking, is slavery an action, or is slavery an outcome? Because if you enslave somebody... No, well, but it does make a difference. In utilitarianism, it does make a difference if it's an outcome or if it's a means. I'm still thinking slavery could be considered a means, but I can see how some people would argue slavery is an outcome and therefore is wrong, and therefore you would say under utilitarianism that anything that leads to slavery is wrong. But, I'm still not buying it, and we're going to get to why. Some people, of course, are going to say, well, how can slavery create happiness? First example, excuse me, folks, for that. The first example, how can slavery create happiness? For those of you who have read Brave New World, look at this book. This is like the utilitarian paradise. All the people in this society are slaves. Some more than others, granted. The little, what is it? The alphas run everything. Maybe the alphas aren't slaves, but the betas are certainly slaves. And what I can never remember, what are the little guys on the bottom? Is my Brave New World book in here? Is it the gammas or are they the epsilons? The little stunted munchkin ones, yeah. Anyway, I can't remember if they're gammas or epsilons. I think they're gammas. Anyhow, the gammas are these little midget stunted people, physically and intellectually stunted people, who are designed from birth to be happy doing menial jobs. I mean, these people are arguably slaves. Yet, in the book, they're perfectly happy because they've been conditioned to be happy doing those things. And if you're going to come... Well, let me continue with my notes here because this takes me into it. We always think of slavery in context of black people in the South, but slavery has existed all around the world in all cultures, and some of these cultures, slaves were treated pretty good. Maybe not great by our standards, I'll give you that, but you got to remember, our standards come from living now at the most technologically advanced period in human existence in the most economically powerful and prosperous country in the world. And that's not to say things aren't going to get better in the future, because hopefully they are, and probably they are. But, when you look back at, well, slaves 2,000 years ago in Rome were treated pretty harsh. Well, guess what? Everybody 2,000 years ago in Rome was treated pretty harsh. Who gives a fuck? Things are relative here. Okay, maybe not great, but in many cases pretty good standards of their time and place. This created happiness. So, we're always looking at slavery. Excuse me, coffee. We're always looking at slavery as black people on plantations. But slavery doesn't always necessarily have to be like that. Another thing to take into account when you're saying that slavery cannot create happiness is, where is this line between... I'm looking at my notes. I'm writing things in my notes that don't even make sense. My notes are wrong. I need to fix this. My notes say, where is the line between freedom and happiness? It's supposed to say, where is the line between freedom and slavery? It's not hard to argue that we, right now today, in the United States, are slaves. Let me go over the points I make on my notes. We must ask permission from the government to get married. Black slaves on the plantation had to get permission from their master to get married. We must have an identification number from the government to get a job. I don't think slaves had identification numbers, but they certainly had to have permission from their master to get a job. The government takes a portion of our income without our permission and determines what amount that portion will be. Well, if you were a black slave on a plantation, your master pretty much took all of your income and determined how much of all of your income he was going to take. The government has conducted scientific and medical experiments on humans without their permission, sometimes without their knowledge. Tuskegee experiment, which conveniently was done on black men. I don't know if any plantation owners ever did experiments on their slaves, but, if they decided to, certainly nobody would have questioned that. The government or your employer can force you to urinate in a jar and test it for illegal substances. Not only does the government control where we work and who we marry and give us permission to do these things, it also tells us what we're allowed to do with our body, in spite of the fact that there's a bunch of feminazis running around there saying the government can't tell me what to do with my body. The government can tell you what to do with your body, and it does tell you what to do with your body on a pretty goddamn regular basis. And if you're too stupid to acknowledge that, then that explains why you're a feminazi. In fact, I wonder if the evil white plantation owners actually told their slaves they couldn't smoke. They probably told them they couldn't drink alcohol. I can see that. What if they told them they couldn't smoke? I have no idea. F. Your employer and your government can spy on you and access personal information about you at will without your permission. Just as the black slaves on the plantations had no personal privacy. The master could do whatever he wanted, interfere in their personal lives however they wanted. The same thing holds true for us today. The government can intervene, snoop into, examine your personal life in any way it wants, especially now at the Department of Homeland Security, because it's for our own good. G. You can be imprisoned or fined for having sex with another consenting adult under numerous conditions. mean, we all know about this, all these bizarre sodomy laws, and then there's adultery. Well, are there adultery laws anymore? The Scarlet Letter? I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if the slaves on the plantations had any sort of... I wonder how much sexual freedom they had. I don't know. So, but my point is here, if we always want to look at slavery in the context of black people on plantations run by evil white people from the South like me who are racist, I mean, if you compare the life of the slaves on the plantations to our life in the Department of Homeland Security / corporate America, it's not that much difference. I mean, we are essentially slaves to the government. We are essentially slaves to the corporation we work for. Somebody made the argument to me the other day that, well, but you can quit your job and go get another job, which I found interesting, because I said, so then if we told the black slaves on the plantations that you could stop working at this plantation and go work at another plantation, would that mean that they were free? Yeah, just because you can choose the plantation you work on, I'm not sure that necessarily equates to freedom. So my point here is, it's fairly easy to argue that we right now today are slaves. Yet certainly many of us are quite happy, under the definition of happiness as put forth by Mill. So to say, as Spears will, that according to utilitarianism, slavery is wrong, I don't agree with that. I think you could very much make the argument that slavery is perfectly acceptable under utilitarianism, so long as it creates happiness. And people, human beings, just like Pavlov's dogs, can most certainly be conditioned to get happiness from nearly any situation, scenario, condition, and that would include slavery. So to say that utilitarianism in any way absolutely forbids slavery, I don't think it works. Let me read number 7 here. What is wrong with slavery according to utilitarianism? Nothing, providing it creates greater happiness than pain. In fact, utilitarianism is about subjecting the individual to the will and the happiness of the majority, which is essentially slavery. Utilitarianism is about the destruction of the individual's choice, and the individual's freedom for the betterment of society as determined by the elitist masters. In other words, slavery. Well, but it is, remember, the greatest happiness. It is the individual, the desires of the individual give way for that which will create the greatest amount of happiness. It is the destruction of the individual. And this is why utilitarianism is evil, and this is why utilitarianism as a moral system is a failure. And that went pretty quick. Have I forgotten anything about the slavery? No, we'll break that one down too. That kicks ass. Play the music, and then we will be back shortly for utilitarianism in action. Example number 3, abortion. Why? Just because I like to piss people off.